Hey there, Cochrane. Mayor Jeff Genung here with you again. I'm about to shoot another edition of Humans of Cochrane. This week is Education Week. It is where we are honoring our educators in our province and in our community. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to reach out and interview a couple of the iconic teachers, at least in my view, that are educating our youth in Cochrane. And on him now. Oh, hold it a sec. Here we go. There we go. How are you, Mr. Belsey?
I am well, sir.
And how are you? Yes.
From a safe physical distance.
Yes, a safe physical. I'm just going to pop over here. I see you got your bike stuff on. What have you been up to?
I do. Well, not too long ago, I finished my morning bike ride. And so this morning I did 40K, and I went from here up the hill, and then did a turn at 12 Mile Coulee Road near the co-op there. It's about 20K each way. So went there, turned around, and came back and went down the big hill, and I let out a big whee as I was coming down the big hill, and and then turned back home. And that's kind of how I started my day. I am an avid, not a good, but I'm an avid swimmer, and unfortunately, while we're all being patient for our wonderful rec facility to open again, this is my next best thing is cycling. So I love it. So that's what I did this morning.
Well, I've had the opportunity to be a part of one of your classes, and you're one of those teachers that I've always admired in Cochrane.
Thank you.
There's so many, but
there are many.
You stand out with me because you had the citizenship ceremony at Ranch View, and I got to take part in that. And I just noticed that you really have a connection with your kids. So what are you doing during COVID-19? How are you maintaining that connection?
Oh, well, there's, I guess, the academic part, and then there's the part that teachers, I think, start with, which is the relationships. So academically, myself and my colleagues, we are working very hard behind the scenes to prepare plans each week for our students, to get resources organized for them, to support them each day. I have office hours each day online. My kids go to a Google Hangout between 9 and 12 and 1 and 3, and boy, I'll tell you, if I'm ever late, my devices start lighting up, and Mr. Belsey, where are you? And I try and help them, answer questions, direct them to resources, and help them facilitate their learning each week. We also have what's called I read every year with my class. I read an amazing book called Raven's End, and it's written by an Alberta author named Mr. Ben Gadd, and he is famous in the mountaineering world. Anyway, among many things that Ben is famous for, he wrote this wonderful book called Raven's End. I urge people to try and get a copy if you can. And it takes place in this area. It takes place in and around Yamnuska Mountain, the Bow Valley. It's fantastic. And so we have a meeting each day. When we were back in the days when we actually met face-to-face in class, we called them a flock flap, because in the book, that's how the ravens are when they get together and they meet. And so these were our class meetings that we would have, and I would read a chapter of the story. We would share jokes and stories and whatever, just to kind of get things going, share personal, stories to get our day going. So I do that, but now we do it virtually. So we use Google Meet. Some teachers use Zoom, but we have a virtual meeting, class meeting, every Monday morning and every Friday morning. And I will share stories with them. The kids will maybe share a story, a riddle, a poem. Just on Friday, 2 of my kids shared pieces of music that they had practiced and shared with the class.
Oh, wow.
We're actually reading The Hobbit. We were reading it together before, cool. But now we're reading it online together. We're having discussions online. And one of my students took it upon herself to learn one of the songs, the main songs from The Hobbit, and played it on her piano for the whole class to hear, and they were all listening, and I said, okay guys, turn on your mics, and they were all yay, like cheering and clapping. So we meet that way. And then the other thing we did, which is kind of cool, a few weeks ago, my colleagues and I, my fellow teachers in my end of Ranch View School, Mandy McCullough, Wendy Sutherland, and Kaylee Muse, and myself, we went and did a little mini car tour parade, and we went all around to visit as many of our students as we could. And then on Friday, I was really missing the kids, so I told my kids we were going to have Mr. B's Tour de Cochrane. Since we can't have the Tour de France, we're going to have the Tour de Cochrane. So what I did was I got all of their addresses. I used Google Maps, and I created a Google map where everybody was. And then I wrote an algorithm to try and help take all those positions on the map to guide me as to which ones to go to first to try and be efficient. And then I rode with one of my colleagues, Mr. Selwood, and his wife Erin, who joined me, which was awesome, and their kids. We toured around Sunset, and then we went down to Heartland, and then we finished up around Heritage Hills, and it was great because I had a chance to see my kids from a safe distance in person, and it was all I could do to run up and not hug them. It drove me crazy, and yet I could see them and their parents. And I had I had a bag of goodies with me, so I had some candy bars and stuff, and I would put the bag down. They could go and pick out something fun for themselves, and then they would back off, and I would go. We'd do the COVID dance,
yeah.
And I'd go get the bag and put it back there. And I told them that if anybody was asking, like Mrs. Cronin, our principal, tell her that I was delivering healthy snacks, apples. But anyway, now she'll know. But that's okay.
Awesome.
So anyway, that's what we did to try and keep the kids' mental health good, and keep those relationships. And for me, riding around all day all over Cochrane was great for my physical wellness. And when I had a chance to see my kids in person, it was fantastic. So that's what we did this past Friday.
Well, mental health, I've been talking about that. It's so important in all of this. That's a cool story. And I'm just going to zoom back a bit and show everybody you've got your bike with you here. Mr. Belsey with Mr. B's Tour de Cochrane yesterday. That's awesome.
So, and I want to put a little shout out here. I want to say thanks to the people at Bike Bros, because I don't have anything financial. I don't have any interest in their business, but they always keep me safe on the road, make sure my bike is good, my brakes are good, all tuned up. So thank you to the folks at Bike Bros.
And shopping local.
Local. They are open. So if you can support them, they're great. Graham and his team are fantastic. So
that's great. Well, Mr. Belsey, I just wanted to highlight the fact that it's Education Week this past week, and I wanted to touch base with a couple of teachers. You came to the top of my list, and I really appreciate you spending some time with me today. Thank you so much for all you're doing for our youth, for our kids, and keeping us all connected in all of this, and for just being a great teacher. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks to all the parents out there. I know you're all trying really hard to support your kids, and on behalf of all my colleagues with Rocky View, we're all trying our very, very best to support you and your kids. So thank you for, I won't say recognizing me, I'll say thank you for recognizing all of us who are trying our best to help all the families in and around Cochrane. So thanks.
All right. Well, that's another edition of Humans of Cochrane, and this is the Teachers Edition. So here we are. Thank you, Mr. Belsey.